let's be real for a second. Have you ever been staring at a problem completely stuck and your first instinct is to just ask an AI for the answer? It feels like magic, right? But what happens when that magic trick becomes your go-to move for everything? Today, we're going to dig into our growing reliance on AI and ask a really important question. Is it just a powerful tool making us better, or is it turning into a digital crutch we can't imagine living without? I mean, that probably sounds super familiar, right? That feeling of a mental wall. The pressure's on, and then boom, instant relief. This is exactly where our story starts. Not with the problem itself, but with the seductively simple solution that we're all getting very, very used to. Okay, so let's get into it. To really understand why we get so dependent on these tools, we first have to understand why they're so appealing. And it all boils down to one thing: that incredible, undeniable, seductive pull of instant gratification. At its heart, the magic of AI is its speed. It just erases all the friction from those really hard tasks. No more spending hours digging through research, no more staring at a blinking cursor on a blank page. You've got a problem, you type a few words, and poof, you get a solution. It's a shortcut that's like almost impossible to resist in a world that's all about being productive all the time. And this right here, this breaks down exactly how it works. It's a super simple but unbelievably powerful cycle. You're faced with a problem, you prompt the AI, and you get an instant solution. You know, from a brain chemistry perspective, this is a perfect reward loop. The problem creates stress, and the AI's instant answer gives you that release, a little dopamine hit that basically tells your brain, hey, that felt good, let's do that again. It's a system that's incredibly efficient at training us to connect AI with relief and success. And that right there, that's the feeling that gets us hooked. It's the big payoff from that reward loop we just talked about. It's more than just getting the work done. It's this feeling of being, well, augmented. You feel smarter, you feel faster, more efficient. It's like having a superpower you can just turn on whenever you want. And honestly, who wouldn't want that? So I want you to really think about this for a second. When that perfectly worded paragraph or that clean piece of code just appears on your screen, do you feel a sense of personal accomplishment? Or is it more just a sense of relief that the hard thinking is over? That's a really key distinction, and it leads us right into our next point. And that whole distinction between feeling capable and feeling like your thinking's been outsourced, that leads us right here. Because what starts out as a simple convenience can quietly, almost without you even noticing, turn into a full-blown necessity. We're talking about the dependency creep. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. In the beginning, AI is your system, right? You use it to check your grammar or pick around a few ideas. But look how that role changes over time. It goes from brainstorming with you to being your only starting point. It goes from being a helper to being the one that does all the heavy lifting for you. Now, this doesn't happen all at once. As you can see here, it's a slow burn. It starts totally innocently, then it becomes your default. Pretty soon it's a safety net that you feel kind of anxious without, until you finally hit a point where it feels absolutely indispensable, like you genuinely can't imagine tackling your work without it. And you know, here's the real acid test. How do you feel when you can't use it? If the thought of having to write a really complex email or solve a tough problem completely on your own gives you a little spike of anxiety, you might be further down this road than you think. So that little twinge of anxiety we were just talking about, well, it points to a pretty big truth. This dependency isn't free. There are hidden costs, and they hit one of our most valuable mental resources the hardest: our ability to focus. This brings us to this idea called shallow thinking. What does that really mean? Well, basically, when we constantly lean on AI for the quick fix, we're skipping the hard part, the struggle, the deep concentration, that mental wrestling match that's actually required for true learning. We get the answer, sure, but we totally miss out on the understanding. And the effects of this are really concrete. First off, our attention spans just shrink. We get conditioned for that instant feedback. And because of that, deep work, the kind that takes real time and effort, starts to feel agonizingly slow. We start to lose the mental stamina to just sit with a complex problem and wrestle with it, because we know a shortcut is always just a click away. We're literally trading our patience for immediacy. So, be honest with yourself for a second. Think about the last time you were really, truly stumped. Did you stick with it, or was your very first impulse to pop open a new tab and ask an AI? That impulse, it's a really powerful sign of how our thinking habits are changing. Okay, so we've talked about our focus, but this goes way deeper than that. This has a profound emotional impact too. So let's explore the psychological grip that this kind of dependency can really have on us. I love this metaphor of a digital security blanket because that's exactly what it becomes, right? The AI stops being just a tool on your computer and it becomes woven into your own sense of competence. You start to believe that your good work is only possible with the AI, not because of your own skills. And once you believe your best work is tied to a tool, it kicks off this whole chain reaction of really corrosive feelings. There's this fear of incompetence, a quiet little terror that maybe you're not actually good enough on your own. Then comes the anxiety, that raw nervousness when the tool isn't there. And finally, there's this persistent, nagging self-doubt that makes you wonder, could I have even come up with that by myself? This question, it really gets to the core of it. That little voice of doubt is the psychological price of over-relying on these tools. But here's the good news. This is not a hopeless situation. You can absolutely get back in the driver's seat. So what do we do about all this? How do we fix it? Well, it's not about ditching AI completely. Not at all. It's about consciously deciding to take back control, to make sure you're using it as a powerful tool, not as a crutch. All right, here's a practical 3-step game plan. First, set some clear boundaries. A great rule of thumb is human first, AI second. You do the messy first draft, the initial creative thinking, then you bring in the AI to help you refine, to check for blind spots. It becomes your co-pilot, not the pilot. Second, you have to actively practice deep work without AI. Block out 90 minutes, turn off the Wi-Fi if you have to, and tackle a problem with nothing but your own brain. It's going to feel hard at first, but that's how you rebuild those cognitive muscles. And third, schedule a real digital detox. Maybe it's no ChatGPT on Fridays. These small breaks reset your brain and remind you what you're capable of, all on your own. You know, when you boil it all down, it really comes back to this one simple idea. We are supposed to be in charge here. These tools were made to augment our intelligence, not to replace it. The goal is to make sure that we're the ones calling the shots. And so I'll leave you with that final thought to chew on. In this mad dash for productivity, it's a question we all need to keep asking ourselves. Because this isn't just about what we can produce anymore. It's about who's doing the producing. Thanks for digging into this with me today.